this is, this is a sign of the times of going live on Facebook and waiting around for people and being live on Zoom and kind of, how much time do you give people to just jump in. I don't want to just keep telling you, hey, I'm waiting for people, because you are people and you are already here. Um, so I try to say something interesting or amusing, and not just sort of, fill a space. If either one of you feel inclined to type or verbally share with me, with us who will be watching later, where do you feel you're at on the love myself, really don't love myself scale, right? Now, I came in on the really kind of hating myself scale through a lot of my years. And so I had a long way to go to the really loving myself. It's been kind of, my life's work to start with was how to really love and accept myself and respect who I am and kind of how I operate in my life, and to get to where that is the baseline, and it's not to say that we don't ever want to change or learn or grow, but somebody years ago, like years and years ago, said, you have to accept where you're at before you can get somewhere else. Now, she wasn't even saying you have to love yourself or respect yourself where you're at. But actually, for me anyway, it did seem that to be that is part and parcel of accepting where I'm at, is being like, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay who I am, what I am, how I am. And from that place, from an open-minded, positive viewpoint, then I can look more at, yeah, I do love myself and I do respect myself. And wouldn't it be nice if I was a little bit better at getting out of bed earlier, right? Because I accept that, I'm kind of a late night person, and it makes it a little more difficult to get up in the morning. And rather than try to force myself to do that, I tend to work with myself and plan things later instead of earlier. And it doesn't mean I want it to stay that way. And it doesn't mean I have to hate that that's the way I am or force myself to do something different. It's like, how can I work with myself here to achieve something else? Anything you want to share about where you're at as far as self-love, self-acceptance?
Yeah, I'm feeling much better about myself these days. Still trying to find balance with work and family and time for myself, instead of sort of piling it all on top and feeling anxious about not doing what I'm supposed to be doing and stuff like that. So still trying to work out that sort of work, family, life,
Mhm.
myself balance. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I
Okay.
think a lot of working moms have that challenge.
Right. And a very strong tendency to put everybody else either first or sort of, when you said on top, I kind of imagine like a laundry pile, and you're like the little shrunken piece on the bottom with everybody else's stuff on top, right? And you don't ever get to take care of yourself because that pile just keeps growing, right?
Telling you, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like if you feel like if you take time out, things will just start piling up, and it takes even more time.
Hmm.
So just trying to find that balance,
Right.
and figure out how I can get more help to, uh, to get that balance.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You think help in your work life, or just in
I think more at home,
uh,
stay on top of things at home and see what I can do. Yeah, so and also, to take care of myself, my health. I realized recently that, my health gets kind of pushed to the back as well. Um, you sort of use caffeine as a quick pick me up, and then, you know, don't sleep at night and then use more caffeine because you haven't gotten any sleep, and
Right.
vicious, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right. And it kind of runs you down at some point, you're like cycling up here and then you're getting lower and lower. And because you're really not taking care of yourself. I love that you're, looking at all of that and looking at ways you
yeah,
can do it differently.
yeah,
So that's awesome. I commend you, especially, as a mom, as a,
yeah.
a keeper of
Thanks.
family. Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. So, well, it looks like for now it may just be the two of us. So,
Okay.
and that's fine. We're good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, um, I there were a couple of things when you were talking. I remembered hearing about, it might have been in the 50s, it might have been as early as the 40s when whatever company wanted to introduce frozen food and like frozen meals. And they got a bunch of women together as like not a study group, what do they call it when there's like a marketing panel,
Mm.
right? And and they were just supposed to comment on the meal and what it was and what it looked like and what their thoughts were and whatever. And like most of the women were like something like, I would never do that. Like if you didn't go home and or be home and make meals for your family and whatever, it was almost like equivalent to being like that, like a slut and a whore and like whatever. Not that, I mean, I'm not passing judgment there either, but they were, right?
Yeah.
That it was, just beyond, it was reprehensible to not
Yeah.
be cooking your own family a meal from scratch. And boy, things have changed in that department, right? And what all you can buy out of the freezer section. But I think that there's still a lot of pressure, right, on women to be the ones who are the ones who keep it all together. Um, and that, that's the expectation and the job that you
For
signed up.
sure. I mean, today's what, Friday?
Yeah.
And I was like, all the fast food restaurants are completely full with people, buying food because it's Friday and nobody feels like cooking. Nobody feels it's been a long week.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Cause you've had it
yeah.
by now. Sure.
Yeah. So the fast food outlets are all full with people going home and
Mhm.
grabbing something and, ready for the weekend kind
Yeah.
of thing. So, yeah.
Right. Right. And yeah, so another thing that you said that I think is a real common sort of sticking point is the idea that, if you take time for yourself, all this stuff is going to just pile up and it's only going to get worse for you.
Yeah.
And, granted, time and space being what they are, somebody's going to throw something else on the pile. I'm not saying that won't happen, but when we're really taking care of ourselves, when we're really feeling good and feeling good about ourselves, there's a way that like time also stretches for us, and we're
Mhm.
so much more, or can be so much more productive. And just even whatever you do, if you're doing it from a place of feeling better, physically feeling better mentally or emotionally, about yourself, you have more energy. So you also maybe feel better about whatever it is that you're doing. All of that kind of expands to give you more space to get things done and
Yeah.
to enjoy I mean, it's amazing what you could enjoy. I mean, what popped into my head is like, I could enjoy sitting, at a big stack of paper, having to staple it together for like, an hour or two, especially if I'm listening to something interesting in a podcast or music, or I'm just not caught up in grumbling about how I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have to do this, or I ought to be doing something else, or, when we allow ourselves to be in
Yeah.
all of those different ways, so I mean, not just allow ourselves to be taking time off, but allow ourselves to be, this is where I am right now, this is the job that's in front of me, that's important to me, or whatever. And to find a way to be in alignment with that, right,
Yeah.
than be in opposition to it. That it just helps everything smooth out from there.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so uh in my years of my own struggles with, accepting and respecting and loving myself and being kind to myself, I have picked up quite a few little tips and tricks besides, kind of created my own. But on that topic, okay, his name is the Sedona method guy, Hale Dwoskin. And he talks about the idea of, he says, don't should on yourself, right? That we're always trying to force ourselves into doing something, and telling us, ourselves, we have to, we should, which I was like, shaking the finger and whatever, and that doesn't ever feel good. And so what I learned from him was the idea of, maybe looking at some other piece of it, like getting your taxes done, say, well, yes, I should get my taxes done. And every time I tell myself I should get my taxes done, there's like resistance. There's like a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old in there and a 28-year-old all being like, no, 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 like, don't make me do it. And I don't want to have to do it. And don't tell me what to do. And, just right. All this stuff. And rather than to say, to look at how great I'm going to feel when I get that paperwork done, and to just kind of skip over, yes, obviously, in order to have the paperwork done, I have to do it. But if I'm doing it, looking at the benefit that I'm going to get, not how I'm going to satisfy the shoulds, right? But something else that,
Yeah.
wow, I'm going to feel really good about myself that I have gotten it done. I'm going to feel, free for the weekend to do projects or play or, whatever, and to kind of stick with that and use that as the motivator rather than use the should and have to and you better and the drama, and the push-pull thing as the motivator, right? Because who wants to do that? As soon as somebody says, you really should, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, already my defenses are up and don't tell me what to do and whatever. And it's the same thing when we say that to ourselves. If for no other reason than we took it on from all the people in our, from babyhood on, who have been the ones to tell us you should or you shouldn't, So
Yeah, I come from a family of women who were always shitting. Oh my goodness. And they really meant well, but
mhm,
it's always, you know what you should do. You know what you should do. You know you should be doing this. You know
mhm,
you're right. You should be doing this and that, So there was always a lot of shitting.
yeah,
Um, my family, and they meant it in a good way, but also should sort of like implies that if you don't do it, then you
right.
know,
Then then you're bad, then you're
yeah,
making a mistake, then you're going in the wrong direction, or I mean, it implies a whole list of things, and I don't know if any of them on the list are like, it implies that then you'll be happy, and
yeah,
you will have done the right thing and feel proud of yourself and good, maybe. But yeah, I'm a lot more about, like, if there's a should, my should is you should listen to yourself and pay yourself attention and honor, and then move from there. And even that's like, I'm not even going to say should, because then I'm going to ruin it. So instead I'm going to say that it can be liberating. I think we all deserve to be honored, and firstly by ourselves, and given credit for what we are doing, and how much we are getting accomplished or taking on commitments and responsibilities. It's like you do that all the time. And if you only ever look at what's undone, you kind of rob yourself of any sense of appreciation or completion or, um, I don't know. You got another word for me?
yeah. Well, I guess in the shitting, there is shame and guilt in that.
Mm-hmm.
In the shitting is it's usually a guilt trip,
Right.
and in saying it, it has I mean, I don't know if this is for everybody, but it seems to have a lot of guilt behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You speak to yourself with a shoulding.
Right.
Um, it's more, well, I haven't done it yet, so it should be at the top of my priority list.
Yeah.
Whereas other things, and I think also it happens when you've gotten into sort of crisis management in your life, where you sort
Yeah.
of are dealing with things that come up rather than ahead of yourself.
Right. Right. Trying
And
to keep those fires out and.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which which and the thing is that the in my work life,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's that's just the nature of the business I'm in, is that you do have to put out fires every day.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I just feel depleted by that, um, that it's hard for me to come and do the same thing at home, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think maybe it's just that my job is depleting me.
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
you know.
you've only got like so much kind of,
Yeah,
unless, I mean, we do have sort of physical, parameters, right? I mean,
yeah,
we can't just do just anything. Maybe we can on some level, but not on the everyday going to work level, right?
yeah,
So all the more reason, that we need to keep feeding ourselves, and keep supporting ourselves and looking for support and, getting support from other people, from our family, and trying to, build that in
yeah.
wherever we can for ourselves, and also model it for our kids.
True.
So that they're not in the same depletion mode, when they get to your stage, that you're struggling with, and I mean, just imagine what it would be like if every day you came to work and the first thing that happened was like you got applauded for all the things you had just accomplished in the last 2 or 3 days, let's say.
Yeah.
And that was a focus, like, wow, woohoo, yay, way to go. I can't believe you nailed that and you got that done and you took care of
Mm,
that. Because especially when there are fires, right? Because you could stay in the adrenaline of that and the tension of that and lose the relief of all the fires that you have put out,
yeah.
or mitigated or turned into like 3 little fires instead of one huge brush fire, or,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was actually just listening to a friend of mine who's a coach and a speaker, and he just got on a TED Talk, and he talked a lot about celebration of just celebrating for, something like that, and just celebrating for nothing, like, woo, you made it, it's Friday, you made it to work, like, wow, way to go, to just bring a different energy to it,
Yeah.
so that you're not in crisis mode all the time, even if you're still kind of having to take those same steps and
Yeah.
mitigate those same circumstances, right? But if you're coming from it in a way that it doesn't feel like a real survival issue,
Yeah.
instead it feels like, wow, this is your expertise. You're putting these fires out because you know how to handle it. You know what to
Yeah.
do.
So true. Yeah.
Right? This is your jam. And to come at it with that, with the pride and appreciation and accomplishment, and same thing, in your relationship with your partner, same thing with your kids or your parents or, whomever. It's like, we are so geared to see what's missing or what isn't working, right? I mean, they've done studies or whatever, and that we're like 10 times more likely or pay much more attention to anything that's negative or seems maybe dangerous in some way, like a fire at work that needs to be put
Mm-hmm.
out, right? Because, we're still wired for survival instinct.
Mm.
So, you tell me, oh my God, there's something, going on here today, I got to deal with it, then, oh my God, I got to deal with it, right? And so we tend to not even hear or stay in or feel the other, the moments where it's calm, or the moments where we're actually celebrating a win or something like that, and so this friend of mine, David DiGiorgio, was talking about that, and that he talks about being bullied in his own growing up, and then wanting to deal and help kids in school around being bullied and just being not fully acknowledged or appreciated even by the adult teachers, staff, whatever. And part of how he's dealing with that is just encouraging everybody to just celebrate all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I guess I sort of take that on and, you know, hey, I celebrate you for having this conversation with me. Like, Yahoo, thank you. You know, and what can you celebrate for yourself about the week that you just got through? You know, you could start with just, I got through the week. You know, and
yeah, that's so true, because I tend not to celebrate um, accomplishments. Strangely enough, I don't know why.
I think
Just like, you just like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next mountain to climb, kind of thing, rather than sort of looking back and said, wow, look what I've done, look what I've achieved. It's like never enough. There's always, something else that has to be done. So I really have to check that. I have to check in with that and see why that is, because you're so right. I mean, it's almost like the week goes and I'm like, okay, what's the list of things I haven't done this week? Rather than what's the list of things I have done this week that are great,
Yeah. And because there's always going to be more. I mean, it's not like you're going to get to the end of the list and then relax, I mean, so it's like we really need to give that to ourselves, because there is always going to be more still, and there's going to be more people with their shoulds, and you've got your own built-in shoulds already.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's on us to find those ways to lighten our own load, or just lighten our own feeling of the load, and just really give to ourselves. So I honor you and celebrate you doing that, and just, taking a look. And one of the ways that has been, even when you're trying to make a change, right? Like saying like, okay, I want to honor myself more. It's so tempting to be like, okay, well, so let's see, I should make a list. I should make a list of the things that I should honor myself for, and then I should decide what day and what time I mean, you can just roll it,
Yeah.
And so just take a breath, even, I'm not going to say you should meditate, because, if you meditate, or if you choose to try to meditate, good for you. You may find something from that, and you also may find another should, or 10 shoulds behind that. But in this moment, I'll ask myself sometimes, like, what's one thing that I can do right now? One easy, simple thing I can do right now that's in my control, to change this situation. And whether it's like I'm putting out a fire, or I'm wanting to sort of liberate myself in something, And so in this moment, I can just be like, okay, we're having this great conversation. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to just take a breath. And I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for being here with me, having this conversation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here with me.
Right.
And having a conversation.
Yeah. And how many seconds can we last before one or both of us is like, well, okay, said that now I should, get to the next part, or, whatever. It's like, just being, right? It's nice to be here with you. And it's crazy. Like, it's scary to say that, in the sense that in this moment, I know, like, by saying that, I want to say avoiding, but it's not, I'm making a choice, right? I'm saying, I'm going to sit with this for another moment. I'm going to just let myself feel good in this moment, and not head right to whatever list. I mean, I don't have a written list. I'm sure I got, plenty of lists in my head. And it feels defiant, and it feels rebellious, and it feels like, oh no, kind of thing, against all of those shoulds, right? That we've gathered. I mean, I'm 59. I have a lot of shoulds behind me.
Yes.
A lot of people, right?
Mhm.
People I've never met, people I don't know, people who say, that's not how you're supposed to handle a coaching session or a presentation or like you should, blah, blah, blah. Like they're never, they're not saying, well, oh yeah, you should just sit there with your, with your participants and just, feel it. No,
Yeah.
say that. I mean, there actually are people say, there's a few, but they're not the majority. They're not the people out there with the, capital S shoulds, and how do how do we continue to make changes in the face of all of that, kind of societal pressure, whether it's right here, I mean, whether the people are right here or whether it's, right here, and to keep honoring what is true for you, what would feel good right now, what would, what is something that would just feel just even a little bit better, that's doable, rather than, oh, I should have a list of 15 different things that I could do, and maybe a list of friends that I would engage to, and just go through that whole thing where a lot of it is not attainable, certainly not in this second, in this moment, right? So how are you feeling in this moment?
Well, I'm really relaxed now because, I'm talking to you and you're making me feel okay about,
Uh-huh.
things.
Right.
And so I don't feel as judgmental
Uh-huh.
myself
Right.
as I did. So, my mood is lifted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
thank you for, just validating that, it's okay and that I'm
Right.
doing that.
Yeah.
We just the little moments,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
know,
And I
I'm
think,
just lying in bed staring at my fan or talking to somebody here.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you can do those things and still be running the, I should really this, I should really that. And
Yeah.
so you're not even really present, right? Or you can
Yeah.
do those things and allow yourself to be that or do that or whatever, and
Yeah.
I discovered for myself, this is, I don't know, about 10-15 years ago now, that I was, getting closer and closer to like letting myself or wanting to be living a different way. And what I kept bumping up against really was that I didn't feel like I had the authority to make a different decision. Like I was still living under the rules, that I'd been given, whether, family or school or TV or, whatever, right? That somehow the authorities were out there and I didn't have authority. I didn't have sovereignty over my own self and my own rules. And it really took looking at that some and noticing, and it was almost like coming up against this invisible wall. Like I would start walking like, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to do something different. And then like, oh, I couldn't go because it wasn't in my rule book yet, because I wasn't making my own rules, right? It wasn't okay to, take an hour off in the middle of the workday because I felt really, frazzled and was sort of having a meltdown. And instead of trying to, sort of suck it up and knuckle down or, whatever sayings, that I was actually going to, go for a walk
Yeah.
or read a book or just, really disengage or whatever. Well, who do you think you are? Why do you get to do that? And that kind of stuff would come up. And it was a process, of taking that power. And it's saying taking it back sort of implies that somebody else was holding on to it. And I don't know, in some circumstances, yes, there's somebody that really is, holding on to it or thinks they should have the right to hold on to it, And in some, it's not anymore. It's so sort of indoctrinated in me that, you don't have to say a word to me to make me feel like, well, who do I think I am?
Yeah.
Because, right, it's already, it's run deep in the tracks of my brain. And again, sort of just taking little steps of what feels possible. What can I do right now that's different? That is it all in any way in an opposite, not even opposite, just different direction than where I feel like I'm supposed to go or have to go, when what's in my heart or in my mind or emotion at the moment is to go this way,
Yeah.
And the more that I did that, the more I also saw really how beneficial it was. That I just, I don't really operate very well when I'm trying to force myself to get something done, and I'm grumbling and I'm, sort of in my own opposition. I function much better if I let myself just, chill out and let go of that, and do something. And it's not always the same thing, or be some way or take some time to shift out of that gear, out of that, clashing gears. It's like what I was saying before, that then when I come back, I'm doing it from a different place, a different energy. And often it doesn't take as much energy, and it doesn't take as much time. And I'm not grumbling while I'm doing whatever
Yeah.
it is either, right? But it's sort of counterintuitive to what we learn how to do. So it actually created a permission slip with like a little fairy godmother thing on it. And it says, permission slip. And it was like, to give to myself, and I've given it to other people, and it's like, I hereby grant you the authority to make your own decisions and do what feels right for you, until you are ready and able to give yourself that authority. Because it's not like you don't know what feels right for you. I mean, if you stop and ask yourself, um, how can I make this better? Or, what do I really feel like in this moment? Or,
Yeah.
but how do you get to the I let you? So I think actually, when I know that Jessa's going to be posting, all of our things today, or that everybody's doing this weekend, I will dig up my permission slip and see if I can get it added on as a, as a downloadable file, and you could have your very own permission
That's,
slip.
yeah, I mean, that's so cool, because actually this is the second time that I've been speaking to someone and they've talked about the permission slip.
Wow, cool.
So that seems to be sort of well, what's the word? I can't remember, but it seems to be a theme for me in terms of um, needing a permission slip
Mm-hmm.
to do what my heart wants to do.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I have a tendency that when I start doing something that my heart wants to do, the objections come up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of objections as to why it can't happen, and um, it it's it nobody's gonna want it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna, so I have to sort of get used to just doing stuff because I want to do it, not
Right.
because I'm looking for outside validation or for someone to like it or anything. Just do it because I want to do it. I like to do it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So so it's funny that you've brought up the permission slip again.
Right. And these things frequently do show up in threes. So I wonder who's going to be the third person to mention permission.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Like,
do
there
hope.
are no accidents. I mean, I did talk with somebody about the permission slip maybe 2 months ago or something, but it's not so much like a part of my repertoire, that every time I
Yeah.
talk about self-love or, doing things, it doesn't come up all the time.
Mhm.
So it came out of my mouth for a reason.
Yeah, and it was actually the first time it came up was actually with a shaman who was doing a reading for me. and he was talking about this permission slip. So it's interesting that that's come up again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I
So
should pay attention to that.
you should, actually, you should. I think you know, we could make a list now of what you should, because, you know, it's like, wow, you know, it's like empower, disempower, empower,
Yeah.
disempower.
Yes. Yes.
But
Exactly.
yeah, but it's an exercise for us to, you know, come into different ways of being when we've been trained and maintaining that for ourselves, you know, for
Yeah.
so long, right? Yeah, so self-forgiveness was not, you know, sort of on my list of what is so important. I mean, there's a lot of things important, but, you know, mainly I've been talking about, you know, self-love and self-respect and self-acceptance. And I think actually you need self-forgiveness for probably any of those to really take root, you know, because it's like it's a place I can go sort of right away. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, that shaman told me to do that, but did I listen? No, you know, and so now I'm mad at myself again, instead of being able to, um, you know, take to heart what I was being told and see what, you know, what will you do with that? I don't know, and I'm not going to tell you what you should do with it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, but it's like, well, what does that feel like for you, or what does that mean to you that now two different people have brought this up and it resonates with you, you know? I don't, what might your next step be?
Yes.
and and your next step today might be a different from what it feels like tomorrow,
Yes. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tricky business, tricky business. um at some point, like I've had a couple of sort of breakthroughs with my own difficulty of self acceptance, love, and all of that, and being kind to myself. And one of them was, you know, I've heard the phrase for a long time, like, we're not human beings trying to have a spiritual existence, we're spiritual beings trying to have a human existence. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And it's kind of clever, and it, you know, it changes something. And then at some point, in I don't know, a few years ago or something, it like it really, it got to me. I heard it in a different way. And the sense that it made to me was the idea that, yes, I believe we are spiritual beings or divine beings or whatever. And we're here to have a human experience, meaning human beings being necessarily imperfect and growing and learning and not necessarily getting things right. And so if we're doing that, and if I came here to have a human experience, then it's like whatever experience I'm having, as far as my divine being is concerned, of having come here to have a human experience, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Perfectly imperfect, you know, and not even in a like, well, I'll forgive you for that sort of way, but just in like, hey, you know, like I came here to see what it was like and to feel it out and to look at how I might go about things. And so if I did, you know, if I didn't give myself my own authority back or whatever, you know, and let's say I'm 59, let's say I should have had it by 30, but I didn't, you know, that's okay. That's the experience that I've been having, you know, and today I want more of an experience of being my own my own boss, my own authority, my own rule maker, you know. And I think about Jessa has been talking about sort of stepping into this sense of like her queenship or her queenness, you know, and meaning the words that I've, you know, heard her, seen her use are like sovereignty. Like I'm the one who gets, you know, this is my life, this is my realm, and I get to make the choices and I get to set up, you know, how it works.
Yeah.
And right, we play in a communal area, so we don't get to decide everything because we can't decide for other people or whatever. But in as much as we have the right and the desire and the need to, you know, take care of ourselves, I think there's a lot of, you know, kingdom, queendom, or whatever that we could set up more to our own liking or to our own flourishing than what we were kind of handed and then stayed stuck in.
I like the idea of sovereignty, of, you know, I, I think that helps in terms of envisioning what you want your life to be like, is to say, you know, I'm the sovereign of my realm, and this is how I wish things to be done, and these are the partnerships I want to make, and these are my coalitions and my communities, and you know, the people that I want to work with. And so that's a really interesting sort of take on that, in terms of envisioning your life is having sovereignty over
Yeah.
everything that happens,
Right.
rather than it happening to you, sort of.
Yeah.
And putting out the fires, like you're saying, says, you know, for the most part, you're putting out fires because your sovereignty is constantly being attacked, you know, because
Right.
you haven't put up your guard walls, you haven't made the right coalitions, you haven't made the right, you know, partnerships and things. So you always feel like you're under attack because of that. So that's a really interesting,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Great. I will love to hear at some point if you have more thoughts on that, or how that kind of takes shape in your day as it maybe just the idea of it unfolds for you more, you
Yeah.
know, of what being sovereign in your life starts to look like. I think
Yes.
that would be very cool.
Yes, thank you. And I'm looking forward to your permission slip.
Okay. Yeah, good. So I don't, you know, I don't know what the rule is about how long these are supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not to just be able to play with it, right? I mean, we've had this conversation so we can kind of goof on this stuff, you know, and just lighten up about it. And I
Yeah.
think that that makes a big difference too, you know,
Yeah.
without having to be all sort of negative, you know, or like mad at myself that I didn't extricate myself from that sooner or better, or, you know, whatever. It's like, yeah, yeah, I'm still stuck on that little nail, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So I'm feeling the call to do a guided visualization
Oh,
and kind
lovely.
of take us through, I think, you know, stepping into our power and our sovereignty. Um, and usually when I do this kind of thing, I tend to kind of bring us back out, you know, make sure we're like, you know, in our sort of everyday mind. And, you know, if you're going to drive or operate a blender or, you know, whatever. But the last time I did this in my event last week, I actually just kind of let people go. So I'm going to like trust you to not, I don't know, you know, fall asleep with a cigarette in your mouth and start a fire or whatever. So if you smoke, put it down. Don't operate any blenders until you're, you know, feel balanced on both feet. And if you have the time and the opportunity to really just continue to chill out and to just kind of be, people tend to kind of get blissed out with this work, then by all means, you know, allow yourself that. I give you permission. There you go. So I will take us through this, and then I'll kind of bring us, you know, make sure we're back in our bodies, and then leave it there. And I will end the Zoom from there, and you can just, you know, drift off whatever feels next for you. And, you know, I don't know, give us a little feedback some other time or something.
All right. Well, I'll say in advance, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And really thank you too, because I can talk all by myself for a long time, you know, but it feels much more meaningful to have a conversation and to have things come out of my mouth that are, I feel, sort of divinely, you know, provided. Or I just had an image of like a jukebox where like somebody's like setting up the records, you know.
Yes.
So after we went through that, that was the next song to go, and I'm not the one who chose it, you know, like our.
Yeah. Yes. I understand completely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. And
Thank you.
okay. So just a little word about the process. I will be kind of talking us up and our awareness out of the top of our head to the edge of space. And this particular process is called the one command. And so I will make a command, which is good because we're sovereign, right? I will make a command for us. Uh, and the words will come to me with divine assistance, I'm sure, but it'll be like, I don't know how XYZ. I only know that it is present time and I am fulfilled, appreciation, gratitude. Okay, so and if you are in a space where you want to kind of add in your own thoughts that, suit you better, or just additionally, while I'm kind of having us in that space, by all means, go for it. And then it kind of bring us down, or not down, but, bring us back to our bodies. And it has actually been scientifically proven that our DNA twists up, it lives kind of twisted, but it twists up tighter when we're stressed and, in fear and survival instinct. And what's that doing is it's like covering its own little chromosomes and stuff. And when we're more relaxed, they will actually unwind. And because we have way more chromosomes than the like 12 pairs of DNA or whatever that they say we have, the rest of them are like, they consider junk. I think they're probably there for a reason. We don't know. But when we're, feeling relaxed and safe and whatever, our DNA uncoils to like expose more of our, I don't know, like our wise, soft underbelly of DNA, I guess, or something, because we feel good and we can express more literally and figuratively who we are. So toward the end of this process, I'm also kind of taking us through unwinding and releasing all the stuff that we have accumulated and been given and stuffed with, and then bringing in and rewinding with kind of the new power and sovereignty and all of this that we've been talking about, winding that up into our DNA so that that's the new blueprint that we're running off of. So that's the mental, cognitive explanation of what we're going to do now in a not cognitive or mental sort of way. All right. So be comfortable. Hopefully you've already been comfortable, but maybe be more comfortable. And you might want to close your eyes and just recognize yourself in your body, being supported and held up by the chair or the bed or whatever surface you're on, that you're being cared for and taken care of in that way, being supported and cushioned. And as you take in a deep and easy breath, you can also recognize that the air and the oxygen around you is plentiful and provided for you. You don't have to go running out searching for it. And so you can just be here together in this moment, in a moment of, peace and of the safety of this moment, and allow yourself to take this journey of exploration with me. And imagine that there's a beam of light that comes down through your body, kind of down through central, through your head and your chest and your belly. It's a beam of light that connects above and below. You send this beam of light all the way down into the center of the earth. And imagine it growing roots like the roots of a tree. And in that, it's gathering the energy and the power and the minerals, the materials, and the resources for life, and drawing that back up through this bright white beam of light into your body, into your energetic sphere, just feeding you and filling you strength, and love and stability. And pay attention to this beam of light and aware of it as it continues to travel and glow brighter, coming up through your body, into your chest, into your heart space. And you can notice there how it glows even stronger with the loving, kind, compassionate power of your own heart, mixing with the energy of the earth. And then this beam of light continuing up and out the top of your head. And with your eyes closed, turn your eyes up as if you're watching this beam of light continue out the top of your head, your crown. And as you're turning your eyes upward like that, you're actually helping yourself come into a more expansive and relaxed state, a theta state. And just let your awareness follow this beam of light all the way out the room that you're in, through the ceiling, and out. However, if you're in a multi-story building, just all the way out the roof, into the sky and through the clouds and out into dark space and the planets and the stars, to the very edge of all that is, the source, where you are in contact with the quantum field of infinite possibilities, of all capacities that you hold, and that history and your ancestry and just the history of life itself holds for you, for each one of us, where we can tap in to this field of possibilities and call in from there the understandings and the wisdom and the new habits and the new ways and the new permissions that we choose that will help us flourish and nourish us. And the command is, I don't know how my body, my mind, my heart are filled with love and compassion for myself, forgiveness and respect and acceptance for myself. I don't know how I see that being reflected in the eyes of others. And I continue to grow within myself my own clear, strong sense of sovereignty, of authority, of being the permission giver and the creator in my own life, in my own lifestyle. And that I draw to myself the resources and the awarenesses and the codes and the blueprints that are required for me to live this most fulfilling, empowered life, where I am happy and thriving and radiating love and peace throughout my own being and to all those who are around me. I only know that it is so now, and I am fulfilled. Just allow that to play in your energy around you and absorb in your beam of light. And now imagine that you can just simply ask of Source to perhaps show you something or give you something that you can bring home with you, some gift, something beyond even your own imagination. And take a moment to see what that might be, to receive it. to appreciate yourself as the receiver, to appreciate the giver, and to see that that is just all one. It's just all a cycle, a circle. And when you feel complete with that, bring your awareness back to this beam of light that you rode all the way out on, and begin to descend and return back to your body on this beam of light through the universes and the galaxies, past the planets and the moons and the stars, coming down into our atmosphere, through the clouds to our blue sky, all the way down this bright white light, which is your connection to all that is, coming all the way back fully into the room that you're in and into your body. And as all this new capacity and awareness and capability comes down with you on this beam of light and begins to percolate through your body, through your energy and your awareness, I want you to imagine every cell of your being, every strand of DNA unwinding and uncoiling and opening up. And as it does, you are releasing, eliminating, dropping any habits or patterns, any rules, any blueprints of how you could or should or must live your life that you have received from others, or even that you have created yourself that no longer serve you. And as your every strand of DNA unwinds, you release all this old information, these old maps and programs. And now drawing in even further the unlimited capacity, the quantum infinite field of potential that you are and that you draw from, and the permission and authority and sovereignty that you have brought in with you now into your body, in your space. I want you to imagine rewinding your DNA, rewinding it with this new coding, this new blueprint, this new understanding, this new power, rewinding every cell of your DNA, every strand. And that as you do that, the very energy that you emanate, that you are, is changing and is changed. And in this, you are now radiating a new signal, a new energy that like telegraphs out from you. And so not only are you changed and greater and wiser and more true to yourself, but the signal that you send out is more clear and more strong and is received by all those around you. They can't help it because it's the new emanation of you. And in this way, you may find your life changing both inwardly and outwardly from this very moment and onward. And I leave you with this. And as you choose to come out of this journey, whenever that is, I ask you to look for what is different, what is new, what has changed, rather than trying to find what was old. Just keep noticing what is new and what is different. And simply take note and know that it is the new truth of you. And I leave you with that.